Howdy, I'm Matt, and in this video we are going to be chatting at the desk and also making up the Reptile Sky Shadow V2 wing. Now this really is just going to be a general chit chat and probably some off-topic chat as we go through. Of course, if you've got any questions or comments as we go along, please just ask in the comments section underneath this video. And with that said, join me at the bench. We are going to go and do our best to stick this in together. So first things first, and by the way, this isn't going to be one of those professionally done build videos. This is what it is. In short, if you like a build video, this is about its best. Or to be frankly honest, what I'm going to do for build videos, because this is more like real life, isn't it? So the first thing which I'm going to do, I'm just going to trim off and get all the parts prepared. It's probably the best place for us to start. So before we go on and do anything else, is that we'll get the parts cleaned up and get rid of the spare bits. Now I'm going to pop those bits over in the corner. Now those of you which remember the original S800, is that my original one did take a bit of a beating, didn't it? Oh wow, yeah, we stuffed it in that tree at about a ton. And I can't believe it still survived. So yeah, I bought myself a V2 wing just to see if it was as good as the first one. And to be honest, on first impressions, I think it's right up there. It does look as on par with the original, but this foam is pretty damn dense. And Andrew popped over a little bit earlier and he brought his S800 over, and this stuff is it is denser. Without doubt, it is denser. It's saying that the original V1 S800 is pretty tough material. So if you've got a V1 and you're thinking you're going to notice the difference, in like flying characteristics and like that, you're not, in short. And again, if you've got a V1, you don't really need to upgrade to a V2 unless you perhaps like the grey colour. That's the only other reason which I could give you for potentially upgrading. But yeah, all in all, it's super tough foam. That is for sure. And I'm just there's some little burrs on the edges. There's no point even me zooming into them. They're absolutely tiny. And when you get yours, is that you'll notice this as well. And all I'm doing is just cleaning it up with a knife just to make sure it looks nice and pretty. I do need to put some servos in this one, but I've run out of servos. I'm still waiting on some servos from Banggood, which is a little bit annoying to say the least, because I was kind of hoping they would have been here by now and they've not arrived yet. I'm just checking for anywhere which I need to clean up. And again, that's a big tip for you, is that preparation is everything when it comes to building models, is that get yourself prepared and get yourself all the parts ready, so that when it comes to gluing up a model, is that because you've got all the parts together, that's all you need to do, is just glue up the model and off you go. You're not having to go, oh, hang on, there's a big chunk hanging off this thing and we need to tidy that, or we need to do that. And that's not the case at all. So yeah, just peeling off a few little odd bits around the edges of where it's come out of the foam. And again, the moulds for these models they're probably taking, or have taken, an absolute beating, because I don't know how many of these Reptile S800 wings have been sold, but I can tell you that just looking at the forums and looking at the chat about the S800, is most people have owned one, most people have crashed one, and also it's invited and encouraged a large number of quad pilots to come and give flying wings a go, which has got to be a good thing. And plus they're just super cheap, aren't they? What are we talking, $50, something like that? Put your own kit in it and off you go. And they're not complex builds at all. They are really straightforward. I'm going to get these spars up and out of the way. I'm just going to check in around the nose area. In fact, I need to get that foam block out of here now, which I stuck in when I did the unboxing video, and I've got to try and get it back out again. Yeah, that's a really good fit which they've made on there. Yeah, there's an odd bit of machining on this leading edge, which yes, the mould's definitely showing signs of wear over the factory which they're making it now, because there wasn't any of this blowout on my original one. So yeah, remember I was one of the first ones to get a V1 and show it on YouTube, and there was no sign of any moulding issues, and now it is showing signs of wear on the front edge at least, and yeah, all around the edges where they're getting slammed together so frequently, because they must have made thousands upon thousands of these models now, and it is just starting to show signs of wear on the edges or on the seams where the two halves get put together. And of course it's two halves, two empty halves, which get put together, and then this foam then gets injected in the middle, and then I think it's expanded under compression or something like that. It's a strange moulding process. Wow, it's different to other moulding. And let's go and clean that edge up there. So we're all looking all good there. Again, I'm not worried about not having the servos to go in the wings at the moment, because they're the last thing to be worried about. What we're going to do is get the bulk of this model glued up. So I tell you what, I'm going to start with the easiest thing first, which is that we had some little carbon fibre doodads to go on top of there, and I know that I've chucked them in the box, so they've got to be here somewhere. I've just found one. And there's the second, and all the other parts are trying to escape. That's the second, so we'll do those first. Now, big tip for you before you go and try and put any glue anywhere on a model is that you just make sure you've put the parts in there beforehand, and just make sure that they fit okay, which they do. And I've just noticed there's a great big nodule underneath the lid, so we're going to get in there with a knife and cut that out while we're at it. I don't really want a great big nodule underneath there, that's only going to be a pain in the rear later. There we go. Again, all I'm using is number 11 craft knife. You buy 100 of them or more off eBay for a couple of quid. You can buy the handles as well, they cost a lot of money. They're cheap as chips, and yeah, that foam's wicked stuff. Tough. Right, let's talk about gluing. For this model I will be using some E6000 glue. It's about $7 or so. I'll put a link to it in the video description. Super cheap. Just be aware, don't get it on your hands. It's not very nice on your hands at all, and it does stink, so do use in a well ventilated area. And those of you here wondering, Matt, are you in a well ventilated? My office door is wide open here in the background, so all I'm doing, I'm just putting a little spread. Just zoom in a second so you can see what I'm doing. Whoa, that is zoomed in, isn't it? There we go. There. All I've done is on top of that magnet I've got a bit of glue on there, and all I'm doing, I'm just giving it a little spread of E6000 over the top, just to make sure the magnet stays in, and I'll do exactly the same in the actual fuselage area as well. And again, give you a heads up, just here recorded on the camera, I am talking a little bit loudly, apologies. You may have noticed from the unboxing video is that I am still deaf as a post, to say the least, which I can tell you is extremely frustrating. It has done my absolute treeing for a long period of time now, and I'm not feeling, I just want my hearing back, in short. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, right now if you put your hands on either of your ears, push down really hard, obviously mind your eardrums, and try talking, or try listening to someone else talking, and that's what I've got at the moment, and it's driving me nuts. And today's probably about the first day when I've actually felt like doing a video or doing any recording or doing any kind of modelling or anything like that, because I have felt pretty grotty about it, if I'm brutally honest. But hey ho, let's not be the pessimist, is that hopefully it would go. I've been to the doctors, and so give it a couple of weeks. Well, she said give it a week and see if it improves. So it already has been a week at least. So hopefully it will improve. But it is what it is. I can't change it, so I'm not getting that upset. I'm not upset about it. I'm just frustrated about it, and that is the difference. Believe it or not, I'm just it's annoying. Right. Oh, and I also need to tidy up the back of this motor mount as well. So I'm just, oh yeah, I obviously didn't check this fuselage very well, because I've had to come around here and just trim around these edges, and again you'll see this on yours, it's just a little bit of spill over the edge where the two halves of the actual mould haven't clicked in well together, and some foam's been able to skip out the edges. Now, which bit was I supposed to be doing? Oh, that was it. I need something with a point on it. Now, a cocktail stick seems to work really well. I'll tell you what I am going to use is a cotton bud. Mainly because we've got a little stalk on the end, and we can use that just to get the glue in and around. Sounds daft, but it works a treat. So all I'm going to use is a cotton bud, and fill that up with the glue. Just getting in there, and again, this foam is shiny, but it's not absolutely rinsed with what should we call it, mould release agent. I don't know if those of you which have owned a micro sky munter, is that you'll know what I'm talking about. Those wings and that fuselage is glossy as you like, where there's been so much mould release put on the foam or in the mould, so that the foam ejects itself okay. So let's get these in. I'm not sanding the carbon fibre bits. Remember, if you are going to sand the carbon fibre bits to get a better key, go really careful. That stuff's not good for you at all. Definitely do that outside, and don't breathe the stuff in, because it ain't very nice at all. So there you go. There's the lid done. That was easy peasy. I'm going to pop that over to one side. In fact, I'm going to stick that back in the box. Next up, this is actually going to be a bit of a challenge. I need to go and find the hot glue gun, which perhaps I should have got ready beforehand, and perhaps it's gone AWOL and I can't see it, so I've just spotted it. I need to grab a battery, and I also need to grab a glue stick as well. Now, this little glue gun has been absolutely bloody fantastic. I'll quickly stick it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. We'll turn it on as well. So there's that little glue gun. It cost me something like £4 or $4, something absolute stupid thing. It'll run on a 3S or a 4S, and I always run on mine on 4S, so it gets hotter faster and stays hotter. And it takes the little 11mm glue sticks, or whatever they were, the smaller ones, glue sticks, and it's been absolutely brilliant. I've had mine for almost a year now, and it's done absolutely brilliantly well. But I will need a fresh glue stick. Let's have a quick. Oh no, they're the 7.2mm glue sticks. Absolutely brilliant. Now, the reason why I'm using the glue stick, why I'm going to get hot glue, is because I want that combination of something which is going to hold the part down quickly, and also I want to use the E6000 glue, in short. So I'm going to do the wings. Now, the first part which I need to do on the wings is to get these carbon sort out. It's got two different lengths, so the shorter ones go in the elevons back here, and then the longer ones go in the top section up here. Now, to give you a little tip, is what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take the end of the rod, and then I'm just going to drag that in the seam, or the recess of where it's going to go. And the reason why I'm doing that is that then it makes a nice rough surface for that to then glue into. And then I'm going to grab the one for the elevon and do that on the back of there as well. There we go. Now we need some glue, like so, and some. Again, I'm a little bit wary of I'll just screw it. What I'm going to do, quickly run a bit of glue down that edge. I'm also going to do the front seam as well, which I need to pull the rod out. Yeah, don't need a massive amount of glue. I'm only pushing on there really, really gently. And we need to get that one in the rear, in the elevon, back there. Again, I'm trying not to use my fingers on this stuff, because it is really not nice when it is on your fingers. I'm going to poke that down. And then I'm going to wipe it over with my finger just to make a nice flat surface all the way along. I can see I've picked up a bit of off-cut, so we'll get that out of the way. Now, to make sure that that stays put, is that I'm going to start using a collection of dress pins. Now, we can also use hot glue to hold it down, but in this case, because I'm still waiting for the hot glue gun to warm up, I'm just going to stick a few 3 pins or so on that rod on an angle, just to make sure it stays in there and it stays put. And of course, these will just pull back out afterwards, like so. go and get the, just going to run that other rod all the way through. I'll poke that one in. Exactly the same process, just poking it in. Again, I'm going to use the back of the knife, and again, with the E6000 glue, I'd still 100% recommend that you do put some gloves on or something, because this glue is not nice at all. And again, I got a bit stuck on my arm the other day, and I ended up pulling all the hairs off my arm, and I can tell you that was not nice at all. Very, very unpleasant. In fact, I'm going to turn the hot glue gun off because the pins are actually doing a fantastic job. Now, for the servos, as far as the servos go, again, if I had them, then I would be hot gluing those in. Without question, hot glue all the way for the servos, just a little bit round the outer edge. That means that we could then cut them out if we needed to. So let me just quickly show you on the top, the servos. In there, I just make sure they actually fit, but then I'm going to sort of bloom and glue on my finger. And just make sure the servo fits, cut the bait if I need to, and then hot glue round the outside edges, not on the bottom, because just in case we do need to take the servo out because we've ripped the arm off or something like that, is that we can get this out easily just by getting a craft knife in and around the edges. If we goop to glue it in, we'd never get it out, we'd end up destroying the wing trying to get the servo back out. So yeah, do go a little bit careful with that, and that's what I'm doing on mine, just a bit of hot glue around the outside edge. So we need to get these the right way round. Again, just scraping in there. We'll do the back one as well. I've just noticed, again, I've already prepped. I thought I prepped this wing. I've just noticed another little bit of a overhang back here on the elevator. Or the elevon, sorry, shall I say. And yeah, let's get the goop glue out. Well, goop, E6000s. It's all pretty much the same stuff. The difference, by the way, between the E6000 and the goop glue, plumbing glue, is the E6000 is a runnier glue apparently, and yeah, works just as good. Same price, maybe the E6000 is well, the E6000 is definitely cheaper, that's for sure. And again, let's just get these rods in there. Again, I'm going to use the back of the craft knife just to poke these down, make sure they go in there. All the way, need to get that lined up correctly. And you really did cut those rods in with a decent amount of accuracy, because they only just fit in there. And again, the reason I'm maybe struggling with this one is that I think I've just put just about the right amount of glue in there, and it was just pushing out the seam. So I'm just going to push that down, get a pin in, pop a couple of pins in this one like I did with the other one. Just crossing them over as we go, so there's a continuous pressure on the bit of carbon support. Again, I'm not going to, maybe I've gone a bit close with that one. Oh, I also need to mend this one, because if you saw the unboxing this one, I did smash this wing around a bit on the desk, and I was holding it right in the corner, so it probably at the weakest point, and I did manage to break it. So no big stress. What I'm going to do is just fill it up with a bit of a E6000 glue, which I've just been and done. There we go. I'm going to get a couple of pins in that so that we make sure it stays together. Now I need to do this from the top rather than from the bottom, because we're going to be in at the bottom in a minute with the main spar. I'm just going to clean up that top edge. There we go. Oh, last one. We've got that bottom seam down here, which looks like I've already been and stuck some glue in. Brilliant, good boy Matt. Just poking that in to make sure it really does sit in there well. Again, if you had a bit of hot glue, it'd do the same job. I just like E6000 glue, to be brutally honest. It's a rubberized glue, it's tough as old boots, and it's proven to work really well. But don't feel too bad if you've only got hot glue, or maybe some Yoo-Hoo piss poor. As long as it's foam safe and doesn't melt the foam, you will be perfectly fine with it. So yeah, maybe that's too many pins, but hey ho, it's not pins as it is. And again, of course, if I had the servos with me right now, I would go and stick the servos in and just dangle the wires around the back, and of course then think about the video transmitter and stuff, but we'll do the electronics last. Next up is that I am going to get the main spars in and get these wings glued on. So I need to work out roughly where the middle of these are, but I am also going to stick a bit of glue down there, down the hole. So with that said, all I'm going to do is get the glue, jam it on the end, poke it in. Oh, naughty Matt, I've just realised I'm saying naughty Matt because I haven't actually been and sanded up these surfaces yet. So again, massive tip for you, these surfaces, definitely do give them a bloody good sanding, and don't forget to do the wing part as well, because we've got to move these bits in here, and I probably should also do the motor mount as well. A good old timing by Matt, because I've just realised I should be doing the motor mount before we stick the wings on. Hey ho, just goes to show it's not perfect, is it? There we go. This is more kind of like a real life build. This is what actually happens, and we all know this is what happens, is that we go to do something and go, oh balls, should have done it a different way. So learn from my mistake. After you've glued the carbon bits in, or while you're prepping your model, you're here and you're going to sand off your parts to make sure before you put your spars in, because it would have been a damn sight bloody easier than what I'm doing right now. Because I've got to work pretty quickly now because I filled up one of those tubes with glue. I'll tell you what I am going to do, so it doesn't cause me an issue in a minute. I can't even see what I should. Which hole did I fill it with? Yeah, top one. I'm going to fill it, get that spar in there, Mo. Make sure that's glued right up. Ugh. Oozing out the other side. And just stick that on the desk or something out the way. There we go. Get rid of the excess. Again, it's my desk, so I am wiping it in there. It's like being in school again, isn't it? When you've been a naughty boy in CDT and you've stuck the glue in the desk, as you do. Right. It's about 1.5 centimetre, 1.5 inches out either side for the front at least. So, right, that one's in there. We need to get the motor mount in there now. Now, this is a bit of a ball bag because, well, I tell you what I am going to do, I'm only going to focus on the wooden bit because that's the bit which I need to do straight away, and I can put the carbon fibre bit in afterwards. Is the only thing which you can screw up as far as this motor mount goes is that if you forget to put this little T-piece on the back, that's probably the only one thing which you can screw up on this model, because that then T-piece then goes in the back like so, and then that's where the carbon fibre plate then screws into. So you could put a collection of glues on here. CA glue would be fine, to be brutally honest, but I tell you what I'm going to do is just use a bit of E6000 glue because I've got it here, it's in my hand, and that's what's going in short. So just going to rub that over there, all over the back, make sure there's a damn good coating. Make sure we get up there. Again, if I was unsure, then I could use the cotton bud which I was using just to spread the glue around to make sure it's evenly covered, like so. Oh, we also need to get it in the joint as well. So the excess which I've got on here, and I can tell you that I do have quite a bit of excess, I'm just going to push down in the seam so that we can get that in there. Right, there we go. That's nice and straightforward. Again, I'm not overly bothered about sanding the back of this. I think it's going to be fine. And all we need to do is just make sure we get that in there straight, which we did. And oh, tell there was enough glue in there, went oozing out the top. Brilliant. Now, to make sure that this does stay put, funny enough, I'm going to get some of those pins. There we go. You pick them up the pound shop. You buy 40 million of them for £1 or thereabouts. I'm just using pins in here just to make sure that it stays put and it doesn't move around anywhere. I'll probably put too many pins in it, so If you think you put too many pins in, stick another pin in it, and then you know that you've put too many pins in it. In short, so yeah, there you go, too many pins in the motor mount, happy days. Let's get this rear spar in, and again I'm just sticking some glue down the main hole, down the hole for the shaft to go in. I haven't sanded the shaft or anything like that, the spar, and of course as we know we're going to get a load ooze out of the other end, like so, which is no biggie. Like so, push that all the way through. Point is that there is some glue in there and it might do us some good, hey ho. Right, 5 inches for us, so we need to go that way a touch. So we are 4.5 that way, 4.5 and a bit that way, so we're not that far off at all. Brilliant. Right, next thing which we need to do is get these spars soldered up, glued up. Now to do that, what I should have really done is taken those spars and then scuffed them up inside of here. Well, I haven't done that, so instead what I'm going to do is use the knife. Again, we're just trying to create a nice key for the spar to stick to, and also that needs tidying up in here as well. Give that a clean up too, like so. Again, just trying to puncture the foam so we got something. Again, if you had a sanding pad which would fit in there, that would be happy days. And again, I'm just going to go up inside of here. Alright, don't get that E6000 glue on any clothing. And the reason why I say any clothing, I've been and ruined my blue hoodie. So I'm sure many of you have seen me wear my red hoodie. Well, I bought a blue one as well. I've absolutely loved my blue one. But I've been and got goop glue on it, and you can only imagine what it looks like now on the hoodie. And it's right on the pocket as well. It looks minging. So yeah, that's the one to wear indoors and not to wear out in the public, because it does look, yeah, questionable, shall we say. Hey ho. Right, so let's go and get this thing glued up. I'm just lining it up by eye first. It does look good. I am also, because I'm just thinking back to my earlier version, what an issue which I had was that I went to put these covers in, and when I stuffed them in, that one of them was too long, I think. So I am just going to... Oh, and do go careful of this piece here. See, it's on an angle. Let me just zoom in a sec. There we go. Can you see that one end's fatter than the other end? Do go careful of that, because that bit caught me out last time when I put it in the wrong way around. I had to trim it off. Not good. And you can see that I've got glue all over my fingers. So if you do have a pair of rubber gloves, not a bad idea. But yeah, that's looking good so far. And I will just double check the other side while I'm at it. So again, I'm just going to quickly present it up to the... Let me zoom back out again. There we go. I'm just going to present it back up, make sure it looks right. Again, get that piece the right way round. Yeah. It's been better with me cutting this time. Outstanding. Right, so we need to get that in and get it glued up now. What am I going to do? I am not going to chuck the tub of pins on the ground. What I am going to do is that I'm just going to stick a fair old chunk of goop glue in there, or E6000, sorry, to me it's all the same stuff, and then I'm going to take that cotton bud, and then I'm going to make sure the whole piece inside of here is well covered for the spar. Okay, now I've probably been, well, I can tell you, I've been used too much, and the excess is going to go out here on that front edge. And you'll notice that I'm focusing with the awkward bits first, because once I've done the awkward bits I can then do the inner edge, and that's all straightforward. So I'm just going to, again, a little bit of E6000 glue in there. Okay, and again, using a glue which takes a while to go off is happy days, especially for a model like this where you've got several surfaces which you need to glue up. A glue which, unlike hot glue, which you have to move very quickly on, even when it's at a high temperature. And again, if it's at a high temperature or a silly high temperature, is that it will melt the foam which you're working in, will melt the parts which you're trying to glue together, which is never ideal. So with this, a glue which does go off, and I'm glad that I've got that office door over there open, because it is starting to stink a bit, and I can definitely tell you that I've used far too much glue, which is pretty much normal here. Right, so that's one side done. All I'm going to do now is present these parts up, push them in, That looks good. Oh, what am I tempted to do? I am tempted to use some masking tape for this. And the reason why I'm tempted to use some masking tape is because I know that this will help me keep the pressure on the joints. And it's very, very easy to get off, and it doesn't rip the living daylights out of the foam afterwards. So I'm just going to put a bit of tape on that side. I'm also just checking on the top edge as well, because I can see that there's some spill out on the top, and I'm just going to wipe the spill out with my finger all the way along the seam. Okay, and I'll tell you what, this is where I'm going to get the pins out. I'm not that bothered about the bottom, I'm more interested in the top. And the reason why I'm more interested in the top is because if you've got a seam, or I've got a seam which is not parallel or not level, is that it will stand out like a sore thumb. So all I'm here doing is that I'm just cross weaving pins on the top, and I'll show you once I've been and done this side, and then you'll see that what I'm doing here. And it's very just stuffing pins in here. Again, pins will hold. It just means that I don't have to stand here and hold it. In short, just gonna make sure we've got plenty of pins in there, holding it together. Brilliant, that's worked out well. So there you go. Can you see what I've got on the top of there? I've just got a collection of pins, just one on one side, just overlapping all the way down. Well, overlapping where sensible, because you probably could stick another pin in there. Just knitting the join all the way down. I've pushed the join together, and the excess glue's come out over the top. By the way, with E6000 glue, what you can do is lick your finger. So choose your finger which hasn't got any glue on it, and then wipe that down, and then that will give you a mirror finish down the top. But yeah, don't eat the stuff because it ain't very nice, and definitely not very good for your health. Now, because I did put too much glue in there, I do have a bit spare on the side, so I'm just gonna, I thought I had enough, maybe not. Has that just gone down the edge of the desk? It did. Well, hang on, I've still had some spare in the corner, so I'm going to recycle a bit, which I'd wiped over there out of the way. Just getting the spar covers gooped up now. Again, they're going to need a collection of pins in them as well, just for the excessive amount of glue which I've been using. So remember, get these in the right way round. There we go. Poke it in. Brilliant. Right, so I'm pushing it down with my finger and sticking pins in there, and the reason I'm pushing it down is because I know that I've used too much glue, so I know it's going to be it's trying to want to pop out a little bit. Again, now is really the only time which I can wipe any excess glue away, and I'm just going to get in there and poke that side as well. Brilliant, so that's one done. Next one, again, it doesn't matter which way round this goes for this one, so quick wipe over with some glue, grab the cotton bud again. Again, I like using cotton buds because they do help you smear the glue around, and also they're silly cheap as well, aren't they? So there we go, just don't stick them in your ear afterwards. Right, there we go. Let's get that in there. And then of course the opposite side is just going to be a straightforward repeat of what I've done on this side, in short. Now, I don't want to go and push down on this too hard because I'll end up pushing the wing apart. But I do need to get a bit of pressure in there to get the excess glue out. So I'm just pushing down, and you probably can't see on the camera at all. No, apologies, because it's got a timer on this glue. I do need to move relatively quickly. Get that in. Yeah, definitely too much glue's gone in here. Brilliant. At least we know it's not going to fall apart. There we go. Again, I'm just sticking pins in the seam as many as I can, well, as I feel appropriate and short. And again, I'm going to stick some pins along the bottom seam as well, which you definitely can't see on the camera. Apologies for this. I'll show you again in a moment. I'll pick the pin out of my finger. There we go. So I've just got a bit of tape holding it on, and you'll see they've got a whole collection of pins just holding that section down. A bit of ooze out of glue, and happy days. So that's one side. I am just going to go on and do the other side because heck, we're here, you know. Right. I want to get in here, just quickly scuff out the underside. Oh, one thing which I probably didn't do, I think I've already scuffed this one, is that I probably should have scuffed the covers which we were sticking in, but yeah, it's a bit late now, isn't it? So we're already on our way. Get some of that glue in there. And get my pad back. I'll get my cotton bud back. Again, just giving it a slap around with the glue. Way too much, as per normal. Do you expect any less? Again, get that in there. Really mixing it around. Any excess, I'm just pulling forwards like so, so we can get that used up here on the end. Just go and get this goop glue on the end. Nice amount on there. Again, not a crazy amount. We just want a layer on there just to hold the two parts together. But I don't have to go down super straight to begin with, because we can use the cotton bud just to level it off afterwards. There we go. That is working out really well. Again, I think I've got too much glue here, so I'm not bothered about having too much glue. It's better than too much glue than too less glue in my book, and I've got loads left on there now. So what we're going to now do is get this wing on. Again, just like before, I'm going to hold it roughly in the right place, and then my attention is actually going to turn to the opposite side of the wing. And remember, because that's the side of the wing which other people see, or they'll see the top for the most, and the piece which I'm always going to see. So I'm going to turn it over, make sure it is, ow, pin, sort of stabbed in the belly, make sure it is in line, which it is there. I've done the front one, and then quickly do the back one as well. Yeah, good seam there, Matt. Gonna get pins all the way along here. Again, just like I did on the opposite side, just going to stitch pins in and go, again, a little heads up, do go careful with this. Those pins bloody do hurt, as I've just had one on my belly. And ow, I didn't swear. Nobody knows, but I can tell you it really did hurt. And I think one more down and through like that would be it. Again, knit the finger, nice clean seam all the way along the edge. Brilliant, flip it back over, and yeah, we need to get these, we need to make sure that spar goes in there well as well, don't we? We'll push that spar down in there, make sure that's nice and flat. Again, pins to hold it still. Again, I can see there's some excess glue in there, no big surprise. Clean up that tape can come off now over here. Put that in there. Bit of tape in there too. Get that joint as well. And just wiping the excess over the join. Of course, now we got these little pieces to cover up the spars. Brilliant. Again, don't skimp on these pieces, because remember, it will be these pieces which are holding the wing on to the spars. And it's the spars which are giving you structural strength. So if you start doing inverted or loops or things like that, you're hitting trees, is that you do need the strength from these spars. So don't hold back on the covers which are holding the spars in, because that'll help you give you more strength to the overall wing. Again, try not to that was not funny, just stabbed myself in the finger. So do go careful with these pins, they do fucking hurt. Yeah, that really did hurt then. That's one side, and the last one, which I'm just going to quickly run down some glue down the middle and then wipe it around everywhere. There we go. Make sure that's covered all the way along the edges. Like so. Almost done. And then what we're going to do after this is that we're just going to leave it to set, in short. So like I said, this really is just having a chit chat at the bench, gluing up our model. I do have another model here, which was the not the reflex, the This is the Reptile S800 version 2, which is basically exactly the same, but it's in grey foam. So if you like grey foam, that's classed as happy days. And this stuff is definitely thicker than the original, that's for sure. And I'm just pushing this section in. I do have a Genesis wing here, which needs to get set up and ready to go. So I've just stuck a load of pins in that one. While we're at it, we might as well stick the wingtips on as well. So if you've got 2 more minutes or so, we will get the wingtips on as well, because they're dead simple, aren't they? All we're going to do is get the sanding pad out. Again, you really can't go wrong with these. Just give them a quick sand up. And again, it'll be the same process. Sand them up, make sure we sand up the ends of the wings, which maybe we should have done beforehand, but it's a bit late now. But well, it's not too late, it's just a bit more awkward now. There we go, get those done. That one being sanded, if it hasn't, it has now. There we go, and we'll do the other one as well. There we go. Top it good in. Right, don't hold back. Well, I'll tell you what, before I stick glue on there, what I'm going to do is preload it with pins. Well, at least 2 pins, so that, well, actually I'm screwing, I'll stick a 3rd in there. So all I've done there is that pull that pin back out. So the pins aren't actually poking out on this side yet, but when I go and stick this on the end, which annoyingly I've got the wrong way round, is that I've got pins there and I can just stuff the pins in, and I know it's going to be in the right place because that's the place where I stuck it on in the first place, if that makes any sense at all. Again, you have to excuse me, like I said, I'm deaf as a post at the moment, and it's like talking to yourself, and you're just hearing yourself talk back to yourself every single time you speak. Quite frustrating. So I'm just holding that in level, sticking the pin in. Yeah, nice touch of putting the pins in first, I must admit. There we go. Getting that top one in. Brilliant, that's one side. Yeah, apologies there, my mind was somewhere else. And we'll get this last one in. It's just looking pretty damn cool with the old grey. Saying that, the black looked pretty cool as well, so yeah, horses for courses. And yeah, 2205 6x4 prop on the back on this one. And we'll make it city fast, and we'll fight city hard. And maybe we get round to killing that Turner G2K cabin this time, because I tried it last time and we didn't actually kill it, so maybe we get it this time. I paid $20 for it, and it was worth every cent of $19.99, and not 1 cent more at all. Yeah, bit of a shame on that camera, to be honest. It had much more promise than what it actually delivered. So yeah, you can see why they sold them off so cheap. It's because they really were so cheap. Right, that's the wingtip on. So that, one more pin or 2, maybe 3 in that bottom edge. There we go, there's our S800. That, I don't know how long I've been here chatting to you, and of course if I wasn't here chatting to you, then I would have done it infinitely quicker, I'm sure. But yeah, it's not a hard build at all. What was it? Stand up a couple of surfaces, stick a few bits on there. I think I'll spend the next 10 minutes picking glue off my fingers. And yeah, really straightforward. The electronicals for this one, dead easy. 2 servos in each wing, an extra wire up for the video transmitter, camera in the front. ESC will go in the fuselage, not underneath this model. Again, that's meant for quad ESCs, and I'm sure many of you know I don't really like quad ESCs in RC models or in proper models, because they just don't have the ventilation on them. And I'm sure people have been flying with the quad ESCs and be fine, but that's their models, not mine, innit? in short. So yeah, I've got glue everywhere on my hands now. Try and be best. So if you wanted a reason why to wear gloves, look at the state of my fingers now. They're absolutely plastered in glue. So yeah, save yourself the frustration and do wear a pair of gloves. So with that said, for myself, Matt, thank you very much for taking the time to join me for this ramble at the desk. And it really has, let's be fair here, it really has been a bit of a ramble while we've been putting the Reptile S800 version 2 wing together, which I am pretty damn sure it's exactly the same as the version 1, except for they've used slightly different foam, which is, again, I must admit, does feel an awful lot more denser than the original. But then the original was pretty dense, to say the least. So, yeah, not bad stuff at all. And again, I can just notice there, I can see there's a bit of a seam, which I can see. So all I'm doing is just rubbing the top of the tube of the E6000 over the top. Get that lid back on. Yeah, nip your finger and wipe that over, give us a nice clean finish. Anyway, I'm off. In short, thank you very much for joining me for this ramble at the desk. It is what it is, and hopefully the hearing will come back soon. It's really fucking me off, to be honest. Absolutely bonkers. Yeah, but it's just frustrating. That's it. That's the biggest thing. So as far as the hearing goes, the model, piece of piss. It's gonna fly great. We already know that they fly great. $50. It's pocket change in it. If you wrap this around a tree or a lamp post mucking around, you're not going to cry, are you? Cheap models. And again, what have we got to do from here? 2 servos, camera, battery, ESC, receiver, of course, in one of the wings, video transmitter in the other wings. Get the motor on the back. Remember, with mine, I will be using that extended motor mount, which is... Did I chuck it in the box? Oh, I don't know what I've done with it now. Oh yeah, I did chuck it in the box. Remember, I will be using the motor mount extension on mine. Does mean we need to put a little bit more weight in the nose, but it does give us cleaner air because we're out by 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch on the back, which to me is happy days. So we end up with a quieter, faster model. So yeah, really straightforward build. I'm going. For myself, Matt, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I'll see you again shortly. Cheerios!